Live from our studios here in Kukumlim Lane, Accra, this is Joy News Prime. Our top stories this hour, I'm not sure if Aisha Huang was deported or if she fled the country. That's President Akufo Addo as he admits the uncertainty surrounding the Chinese illegal miners' deportation, which remains a mystery.
I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time and has now come back.
But how did Aisha Huang re-enter the country?
Our borders are relatively porous, and I think there's just no point in anybody saying to the contrary. It is a simple truth. And with porous borders, of course, it means also the possibility of criminal elements being able to infiltrate and come into the country.
I have details of that. Also, 5 miners are feared dead after a mining pit collapsed in Nangruma in the Mamprugu Maiduri district of the Northeast region. We have details. Also, minority in parliament challenges the power of NTA to order the blocking of SIM cards that are not registered and describes as illegal fees charged when using the self-service app.
Charging fees. Who approved those fees?
And same script, different dates. Some 185 communities and an estimated 200,000 people to be affected by this year's Bagre Dam spillage. Farmers have had to harvest immature crops.
When they open the water like this, everything will go away and leave us. And more to the point, it brings disaster to us. So when we are in it, fighting to get our foodstuffs, maybe some of them will lose their life through that.
Thanks for staying with us tonight. We're live on myjoyonline.com as well. And in our very first story, this edition, with growing concerns about the activities of Aisha Huang, a notorious Chinese lady also known as the Galamsey Queen in Ghana, President Akufo Addo says he's unsure she was initially deported from the country. According to him, her re-emergence raises concerns about whether she left Ghana in the first place. We have more from the president shortly, but first, listen to the president of the Ghana Bar Association, Yahweh Champon Boafo, who says Ghanaians are losing faith in the Galamsey fight due to the lack of prosecution of powerful forces behind the menace.
Since there is no end in sight and we are in for the long haul, there appears to be a general consensus and unanimity from the general public officers, the media and academia about the effects of Galamsey on our environment, the economy, and the health of the people, especially through exposure to harmful chemicals. The cultivation and production of cash crops, such as cocoa, have been affected and hampered, and there is depletion of vegetation, flora and fauna, and pollution of water resources, thereby raising the specter of the imminent shortage of supply of quality drinking water to our homes and industries. We recognize the efforts of successive governments in recent times geared towards dealing with the menace, but we hold the view that a lot more can still be done to effectively deal with the menace that poses a serious threat to our survival, especially in this period of climate change concerns. There are reports that powerful persons in this country are behind these illegal activities. Mr. President, our constitution makes it clear that every person is equal before the law. We cannot deal with this menace in a perfunctory manner, where high laborers are arrested and prosecuted for engaging in illegal mining, whilst their powerful sponsors are not dealt with. It is crystal clear that most of these hired hands do not have the means to purchase the equipment used in illegal mining. The time has come for action. The time has come for anyone involved in Galamsey, irrespective of social status or membership of a political party, to be dealt with in accordance with law.
But addressing the circumstances surrounding the arrest and deportation of Aisha Huang, President Akufo Addo says there are questions yet to be answered. He spoke on Showbiz, Stone City FM in the Volta region.
First of all, it's now a subject of national discussion.
Okay.
Everywhere you go, this matter of Galamsey will at least achieve that purpose of heightening consciousness about it as an evil. When I came, nobody was talking about Galamsey. Since we came and focused on it, it is now the subject of discussions in homes, in offices, in meetings all across Ghana. So that's one very positive development. Secondly, many of the measures that have been put in place are yielding fruit. The community mining schemes that are being established across the country systematically are being rolled out. The efforts there are to keep our waters clean not succeeded in their entirety, but some measurable increase in performance there is also taking place. Generally, you can see that, yes, there will be sensational cases, and the matter is not over. The Aisha Huang is a sort of, has become a short form for everything to do with, especially, unfortunately, with the involvement of foreigners, especially Chinese, in these illicit and dangerous acts in our country. But I'm persuaded that much of the work that is being done, and a lot of these things are going on without too much publicity, is gradually yielding results. When you have a situation like this woman who was, I'm not still sure whether she was in fact deported or whether she fled the country the first time and has now come back, but whatever. There still seems to be some uncertainty about it. But whichever way it is, she has become the sort of nickname for all that the Galamsey represents. And unfortunately, also for the involvement of Chinese nationals in Ghana in this particular illicit trade. We have constantly to work at it. We need to have the cooperation of the courts. Until recently, till I came, the punishment for people caught was relatively light, a fine, and even if we're going to go to custodial sentences, was relatively minimal. We've changed the law to stiffen the punishments for people caught. For foreigners, I think it's now 15 to 25 years, depending on the severity of what it is. So we're also now going to test our judicial system, to what extent it is going to be responsive, especially when somebody like her goes on to trial.
Meanwhile, ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee says he personally saw a deportation notice signed by government officials to that effect. He's puzzled why President Akufo-Addo, who chairs the National Security Council, is not aware of these processes.
So what we do know is that the minister responsible for the Interior signed a deportation warrant, or if you like, order, which was carried through by the Comptroller General of the Ghana Immigration Service. I have personally cited some documents signed by...
I'm sorry for cutting through, but you're telling us now that you've seen a deportation warrant at the time in 2018 with President Akufo-Addo then being the chair of the National Security Council, that this lady in question was supposed to have been deported. Did you follow up to see if indeed she was deported?
Well, if the president, the man responsible for the overall security of our country, is now casting doubt on the validity of the deportation orders that I have seen, then of course I would tell you for a fact that I'm left in a state of confusion, because as head of our country's security, the chairman of the National Security Council, who must receive security briefings from all the security agencies of our country, if he comes out and says something which seeks to contradict what I have cited, then of course, like I said before, I am left in a total state of confusion.
But how did Aisha Huang re-enter the country after her supposed deportation? Yes, President Akufo-Addo.
It is not necessarily an indication that our security is weak, but it is a fact that our borders are relatively porous. And I think there's just no point in anybody saying to the contrary. It is a simple truth. And with porous borders, of course, it means also the possibility of criminal elements being able to infiltrate and come into the country without so much difficulty. But you have a situation whereby the spread of the law enforcement agencies was able to trap this woman. Yeah, she didn't turn up at the police station and say, I am Aisha. So that in itself is also telling you that people are not sleeping. Yes, somebody can find a way to come back into the country through unofficial means, changed their identity. And obviously she didn't try plastic surgery to change her appearance, but she even came under a different name. But at the end of the day, the security and the law enforcement agencies have been able to apprehend it. I think we need to encourage them to do more such work and to cooperate with them, because my understanding is that it was a tip-off.
That's President Akufo-Addo there giving us the reality on the ground. But let's broaden this conversation a bit more and bringing a former Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Inusa Fussein, who is joining us via Zoom. We're grateful for your time tonight here on Joy News Prime. But first off, what would be your reaction to President Akufo-Addo's, some have described this as very candid view on what really the situation is, even though it may be the stark reality?
Well, thank you so very much for having me on your Joy Prime News. In fact, it came to me as a shock, quite revealing, that the president himself would say that he's not still sure whether Aisha Huang was deported. But when you look at the short sentence, it's quite loaded. He's not sure, he's casting doubt on Aisha Huang's deportation. And whether, in fact, being taken all the circumstances of a deportation together, the fact of the deportation, the president cannot come to the conclusion that Aisha Huang was deported. So it means that either there are people who are drawing rings around the president, or the president was not briefed properly, or someone intentionally misbriefed the president on Aisha Huang, and that is quite worrying. Because you see, Article 58 of the Constitution is very clear. Executive authority of state is vested in the president, and Article 295 defines executive authority to mean the power with which government acts. So when you read the two provisions together, you will come to but one conclusion: the president is government. And so, if government says that somebody is a persona non grata, it's an undesirable element in Ghana, it's an unwanted person, and so that person should be moved within the territory of Ghana. That order must be carried through. And for that order to be carried through, you need the office of the Minister of Interior to ensure that that is done and to brief the president on how he carried through the orders. For now, we are simply, and I had said earlier that my information is that Aisha Huang was just hiding in Togo.
So could it be that the president was not misinformed at all, but the reality really is they did not know what happened? She just slipped through their hands just like that after we were told that she was arrested.
It could not have been possible. That slipping through their hands could not have been possible, because Aisha Huang was arrested the first time and sent before court. She was remanded into police custody until her deportation was announced by Osaf Mafu. It is highly unlikely that a person who is in the custody of the police will be jailed and have the free will, way to leave the country. It's highly impossible.
Okay, I asked that because we've been told that at least you're one of the ministers of that sector. At some point, we are told that about 5,000 Chinese were deported at some point because of illegal mining. Let's talk about the processes. Is it possible that you could lose any of them at any point in time without the former President Mahama knowing about it?
No. When the over 5,000 Chinese who were deported during the time I was Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. And that was when the President Mahama set up the task force. And with the cooperation of Bavulu Lati, we decided to embark on a simultaneous action, cleanup of the small-scale mining sites in all the 4 regions where small-scale mining is prevalent. That is the Western, Central, Eastern, and Ashanti. And we did that at the same time on the same date. So it was a dragnet sort of.
Okay.
So when the Chinese and other nationals who were doing small-scale mining realized that they had no place to run to, They simply gave in. So we dragged them in. They gave in. That was why we arrested so many. We didn't arrest them on the small-scale mining sites. They were run. They realized that we were conducting the operations. They were running away from the sites, and they ran into the nets. So that's why they were kept at immigration. They were not even processed for court. They were kept at the immigration and at the Bank of Ghana building on the Spintex Road. Most of them bought their tickets because they had infringed the immigration laws of this country. And some of them were assisted by the Chinese embassy. The Ghana government did not buy tickets for anybody, and they went away. So it's not possible. What I'm saying that is significantly different from the Aisha Huang case. Aisha Huang was arrested and processed before court, together with 3 other Chinese nationals. She was in lawful custody. At the time, Osafo Mafu said that in consideration of $2 billion, we were not interested in prosecuting Aisha Huang. It is not possible, unless there was collaboration or collusion, for Aisha Huang to have broken custody, gotten her freedom, and fled the country. It's not possible. So I'm saying that even before, because she was in lawful custody, someone ought to have gone to court, because it was the court which remanded her into lawful custody. Somebody had to go to court to plead with the court to revoke or rescind the remand, and also order the deportation of Aisha Huang. So
we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it pans out, because the Attorney General says that he's called for the docket. So we'll be following this closely, and then as and when we'll get back to you. We are grateful for your time. That's a former Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Inusa Fuseni there. Let's stay on Zoom a while longer. And Richard Kumado is Security and Fraud Consultant. We're grateful also for joining us here on the Joy News Prime. So listening to the President and listening to the various analysis on this, as a Ghanaian, should I be concerned that there could be some security breaches if the President is not able to give me a definite response when it comes to this foreign national?
No, there are 2 issues involved, Emefa. One, the President's position means that he has been misinformed, or as at the point he was going to the press, he did not revise his notes. Secondly, I have always held the position that when it comes to Aisha Huang, it's more of a political issue than a security issue. Why am I saying that? I'm aware of the view that we have border control issues across all our borders because of rich historical background with colonization. But then again, it's also not true that the security officers could not track people who are involved in cross-border crime. So I agree with the President that the concern that Aisha Huang was not deported is much of a concern to almost everybody. Again, the reason being that when you are deported, immigration will have to do 2 things. One, they interdict you. The second one, they profile you. And it will be important to follow through to find out what has been the procedure at the airport when Aisha Huang was leaving this country, if she was deported at all.
But what do you think? Was she actually deported or she fled? Listening to the President, what did you deduce from it?
I was surprised my President said that, because as somebody who has been in security due diligence for almost 30 years, what we could have done is to just do a travel check on Aisha Huang. And the itinerary of Aisha Huang would have been given to the President before he goes to the press. So the President portrayed a picture that he wonders whether Aisha Huang has been deported at all. I think it's an indictment on my big brothers in the security agencies. Then it's also an indictment of the security managers of the President at the office of the President. That is not acceptable, and that is below the standard, and that should not be coming from the President of the Republic of Ghana, which means that you have surrounded
what do you reckon ought to happen
to people who do not have the facts.
What must happen in your view?
I think communication has been an issue. I think briefing before media press with the President has been an issue. And I think collaboration has been an issue, because if you remember Aisha Huang again, the first statement from immigration shows that Aisha Huang did not come through the border. And if I can tell you for a fact, that if you know Apawu so well, there's a border in there called Dabala. No matter who you are, when you get to Dabala, you go through some level of checks. It will be important to carry the Joy News guys to Dabala and find out whether they have ever seen Aisha Huang or not. I strongly believe that politicians are hiding something and they are pushing it on the security officers. It is not security, it is politics.
We're grateful. That's Richard Kumado, the security and fraud analyst there, joining us on this. But in the last few minutes, we've been hearing from the Information Ministry on this. There's some clarity to what the president said this morning in Ho. And head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, joins me in studio. He's been interacting with the Information Minister on Top Story a while ago. Tell us, what's the clarity you're bringing to this?
Well, Emefa, so we spoke to the Information Minister, and the Information Minister clarifies and confirms the details that we put out over the weekend, that when the president said that he wasn't sure whether she was deported or whether she fled and there's some uncertainty, the clarity from the Information Minister in that she was indeed repatriated, and that's a technical term he used, and that she was repatriated on the 19th of December. That's the day that the Comptroller General signed her repatriation notice, and she was placed on an Ethiopian airline to Addis Ababa. He confirmed on that. Now, the challenge with that is that flight terminates in Addis Ababa. I asked that question, that flight that he's confirmed, the flight details only shows that she got to Addis Ababa. But Kojo Ponkrumah adds that there is a second flight because it's on the Ethiopian Airlines, they had to transit through Addis Ababa. But the flight actually delivered Aisha Huang to China, to be very specific. Now, the question has been raised about whether she was escorted, because as repatriation protocol requires, she should be escorted. So we ensure that she actually gets into China. He says that he doesn't have that brief, whether or not she was escorted, but what he can say is that Aisha Huang got into China. So that's the clarity from the Information Minister tonight on the back of what the president said.
I'm sure you asked him about, so what happens then when we heard the president say that he's not sure whether Aisha Huang fled or was deported? What exactly was the president communicating?
Well, I mean, he said, in fact, to be very clear and emphatically, that he doesn't want to speak to the president. Because I put to him, did the president misspeak? Was the president misspeaking today when, he said that? He says, well, he doesn't want to speak about that. What he wants to talk about is the clarity. We also asked him the question relating to that. So all the details that he gave us tonight, was the president briefed on this? Again, he says, well, it goes back to the president's pronouncements today on the matter. And again, he will not speak to that.
Thank you very much. Head of our political desk, Evans Mensah. He's up later with PM Express. This is Joy News Prime. Still to come, while police bans the use of tricycles after 10 p.m. This follows the sixth alleged murder of a security man in just 5 months.
Inform the traditional authorities. We've gone on to inform Ghana Police Service. And in fact, we are only hoping that the due or the necessary procedures will be followed in 10 years, our uncle, whether live or otherwise.
And 5 miners have been trapped in a mining pit at Nangruma in the Mamprugu-Maiduguri district of the Northeast region. The National Disaster Management Organization in the region confirms the incident, saying it has dispatched a search and rescue team to the area. Yidana Zakari is regional minister. He joins us via phone with more on this very latest development. Well, we're grateful for your time, sir, Mr. Yidana. So tell us, what really is the situation now?
Good evening to you and to your viewers. I actually got the information last night at about 11 p.m. about the collapse of the pit. And that pit where they were trapped is an abandoned pit. The Chinese illegal miners were the ones who were there doing illegal mining. Somehow, at the heat of it, we got them out of the place. And so it was safe. until the locals went there to also do some illegal mining at the blind side of authorities. So what they told me was that I think they dug a deep hole into the ground. And because of the rain, a lot of water was collected in the mine. You may call it a shaft, whatever it is. And they wanted to empty the water. So they used a machine that pumped the water out. So the gentleman who was inside the pit, I think the smoke in the mine suffocated him to death. So another person attempted to save him. He died. Then 3 others followed into the same pit. And that is what they reported to us. All of them, young men between the ages of 20 to 24, all of them unfortunately lost their lives.
So how many exactly, because I'm hearing a number of figures that you're mentioning.
Yes,
how many at the last count are feared dead?
Yeah, 5 of them lost their lives.
5?
That is based on the information I received from the district chief executive and from the NIB officials. They said in total there are 5 of them who passed on.
And are we still looking for more people who are supposed to be trapped? Because I know that NADMO has sent a rescue and search team there. Are we still looking for more persons?
For now, what is clear to us is that they were the 5 of them who were involved. And all the bodies have actually been removed from the pit. And they've gone ahead to do burial. At the time we got the information, that was in the night. Before today, they did the burial. And our biggest worry is that because it is illegal mining, and they knew maybe they were doing something that the law wouldn't allow, they quickly went for the bodies and they buried. It has come to us as a disturbing piece of news. Well, I have visited the place with the regional police commander and the NIB, with the district chief executive. We saw those pits. The damage to the environment by the Chinese, because they use earth-moving machines. And so they dug deep. The holes, even it will be difficult for us to cover them. And unless you pay a visit to the place to see the damage to the environment, I think that has caused this problem.
Well, that's a rather sad situation there. We're grateful. That's Mr. Yidana Zakaria. He's the Northeast Regional Minister. They're bringing us details on this latest incident in Maiduguri in the Northeast region. 5 persons, we are told, have just passed on. Now, the police in Wa have banned the use of tricycles after 10 p.m. This follows the 6th alleged murder of a security man in just 5 months. 60-year-old father of 5, Badigbi Kwame, failed to return home after close of work on Monday morning at the Wa Star Standard International School. Though he was not seen at his regular sleeping place, stains of blood were dotted around there, thereby raising suspicion that he might have been killed for ritual purposes. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Parents and guardians rushed to Star Standard International School to pick their wards following invasion of school by machete-wielding persons believed to be blood relations of school's night security, Badigbe Kwame, who's been declared missing since Monday. Maze of persons from his native Chere formed a search party and stormed the school Tuesday morning, thereby bringing fear and panic among the teachers and their pupils.
Trying to mobilize certain things, and the teachers were also helping in their own way. But when the relatives came, they said they should not be to school. They went into the classes. Some of them holding cutlasses, chasing the children away. We said they should exercise patience so that we could call the parents, because some of them, the parents do bring them. So if you take them like this, or you chase them away like this, it is going to be unhealthy, because some will not be able to get to their destinations. But it's like the young guys, they were not trying to listen to us.
One of the leaders of the search party Sufyan Idris, explained that the invasion is neither to harm the teachers nor the pupils, though they are of the belief that it is inhumane and immoral for them to continue with school curricular activities when one of their own was missing.
Saying that the schools should close down, but we are thinking that the trauma that is associated with the whole issue, we are all children, we are all fathers and mothers here, so we are thinking that the trauma that they are going through is not that.
60-year-old Bagre Kwame failed to return home after close of work on Monday. The victim, according to school authorities, usually lies on tables kept at the back of the stairs of the two-story uncompleted structure. There was no sign of him at the corner on Monday morning, but blood stains were dotted all over the school's compound.
He sleeps here, according to information I have gathered, at the corner there. So that is where the case started, and they brought him here. Finally flew away with him, and then there was some blood on this leaves. But it's like, because of the rainfall, it washed away. Then,
this is a chief private security man alleged to have been killed in 5 months for alleged ritual purposes. 3 others for the past 2 months have also been declared missing by the police. The irony of it is that all took place in the Bagre enclave.
Inform the traditional authorities. We've gone on to inform Ghana Police Service, and in fact, we are only hoping that the due or the necessary procedures will be followed in getting us our uncle, whether live or otherwise. Well, as at now, we can't even confirm whether he's still dead or he's still alive. So our next action is that we are just hoping and looking on the Ghana Police Service to help us do the needful.
Landlords of the area are deeply worried about the continuous missing and killing of private security men in their enclave. They are urging the security forces, especially the police, to do the needful and bring the perpetrators to book. Meanwhile, the Apawu Regional Police says they have started investigations on the issue. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam.
Now, some farmers and residents living along the path of the White Volta in the northeast region have appealed for assistance to salvage their food crops following the spillage of the Bagre Dam by Burkina Faso. According to the farmers, damage to their farm produce will worsen the already poor living conditions. The dam was opened on September 1 and is expected to coincide with heavy rains. Now, this will cause massive floods across some 185 communities and affect an estimated 200,000 people in the northern part of the country. Farmers in these areas have been compelled to harvest their immature crops. Correspondent Elias Otanko has more in this report.
Hassan and his brother are among the dozens of local farmers in this community who have inherited farmlands within the buffer zones of the White Volta River and the flowway of the Bagre Dam from Burkina Faso. The farmlands here are fertile, however, not conducive for cultivation during the rainy season, when the spillage of the dam often occurs. During this period every year, farmers are compelled to harvest their crops in their immature state.
When they open the water like this, at times our farm inputs, our farm input, everything will go away and leave us. And more to the point, it brings disaster to us. So when we are in it, fighting to get our foodstuffs, maybe some of them will lose their life through that. So because of that, it disturbs us too much. So we are appealing to any government or any NGO who can come and assist us to get canoes or anything that can help us. When the water comes like this, we can be able to convey our things before the water comes and take over the land.
As part of the preparations to move to the higher grounds, some farmers whose farmlands are submerged already are risking their lives using old canoes trying to harvest their drowning crops. They are calling on the National Disaster Management Organization to deploy canoes to help them harvest their crops.
If the water comes and we are going to harvest our maize, we don't have plenty boats here. Some go inside the water, maybe snake day, and then the small insects, they are all affecting. Some bird can get snake bites, and maybe if he didn't get that, he would die because of it.
The National Disaster Management Organization has since arrived in the region and activated its flood response exercise codenamed Operation Thunderbolt. The Director General, Eric Nana Ajiman Prempe, led the stakeholders dialogue at Nalirgu on how to coordinate the floods that could occur as a result of the spillage.
Already some communities have been affected. They are cut off already. The water is now coming. Let me give you this information. For the first time in the history, the flow of the water, the rate is very high. Today, the water is coming at 672 million gallons per hour.
The Director General repeated the notice for all those carrying out activities along the riverbanks to immediately stop and evacuate.
Let us all encourage our people to harvest their crops, those on the banks. Let us also advise them, those who have livestock, to get them to a safer place so that at the end of the day, the water will not wash them.
He said NADMO will continue to provide technical and relief support to the people affected by this annual occurrence, while urging the residents to pray so that the government could get finances to continue with the construction of the Pualugu multipurpose dam project.
This is a project we should all pray that government gets finances to complete it, and it will help us. And this is a long-term solution to the Bagre Dam spillage.
Until then, the twin annual occurrence caused by the spillage of the dam and the torrential seasonal rains will continue to wreak havoc on the lives and livelihoods of poor farmers in the north of the country. For Joy News, Ilyas Sutanko, Wale Wale.
Let's head down south now, and the minority in Parliament are taking aim at the National Communications Authority and Sector Minister Eslo Swekuful over the ongoing SIM card re-registration exercise. The minister says government will not renew the September 30 deadline, after which SIM cards of unregistered users will be totally blocked. The regulator, NCA, announced a raft of punitive measures to push persons who are yet to register to do so. Although reports indicate these punitive measures have been halted, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu says the actions of the NCA, together with Eslo Swekuful, the sector minister, are steeped in arrogance and contrary to law. Parliamentary correspondent Kwekwa Sante has the rest of the story.
Reports now indicate that government has walked back the directive for telecommunication companies to block calls and data services of unregistered SIM card users. But the minority say the directive was illegal in the first place.
Therefore, calling on the Ministry of Communication and the National Communication Authority to desist from treating the communication sector as personal fiefdoms at the peril of the country's development. We do not think that the NCA have the power and authority under the 1992 Constitution to curtail fundamental rights with those mere directives that they have given. The story is told even of a refugee who wants to get registered onto a Ghana card. When he goes, they are charging him as a normal foreigner. Let them be told that there is a distinction between a refugee in Ghana and a foreigner living in Ghana, and that we will not sit aloof whilst they encroach the privacy of communication, guaranteed rights of Ghanaians in the name of SIM registration. Use of communication services. What is obtaining now is an unnecessary request for registration, re-registration, multiple registration of SIMs for contrived reasons. And I emphasize that registration, re-registration, then we end up with a blockade. They are simply punishing Ghanaians over their own failures and inability to synchronize data between the National Identification Authority and mobile operators in Ghana. That punishment on the Ghanaian citizen remains unjustified.
Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu also says government's charge of 5 cedis for persons intending to use a self-service app is illegal.
Now, I understand that they are charging fees. Who approved those fees? And I'm aware that the state is funding the National Identification Authority, and a number of releases have been made to the National Identification Authority How do we reconcile the income they are making against the state sponsorship of that activity, against demanding value for money in the execution of a national ID card system? It is a view of the minority that the NCA is acting ultra-virus in curtailing the exercise and enjoyment of the right to privacy of communication. And as I emphasize, the government is proceeding erroneously as if every Ghanaian has a Ghana card. It is not the case.
Meanwhile, the minority say they will not back down on their support for a class action against government. According to Deputy Ranking Member on the Communications Committee, Sam George, this is the only way government will back down.
By the NTA is without prejudice to the September 30th deadline. So the September 30th deadline threat of blocking all unregistered SIM cards still holds. And even in the period that the SIM cards were blocked last week, persons suffered damages. And those damages are what we're seeking to claim for on behalf of our constituents using the class action suit. So we will still proceed irrespective of what is done.
Government has not revised the deadline for the SIM card re-registration exercise, which ends at the end of September 2022. Whilst a number of Ghanaians are still yet to get their Ghana card, it remains to be seen if the minister will grant another extension. For Joy News, Kweku Asante, Accra.
Now, some persons who are yet to get their Ghana cards are urging authorities to set up more registration centres. This call comes in the wake of a raft of sanctions imposed on the mobile users by the National Communications Authority. Joseph Akable was at the Elwak Sports Stadium. Here's his report.
Youngs, the old, whoever, we are all suffering here. We are just talking. Because if you say something, they say that computer is slow.
We are praying we get it today because we have to leave our works and then come and sit here since morning. And then you go back again without not getting your card. You don't even know when you come back here again for your card. So we are believing we all get our cards today so that we can go in peace.
Looks of hope and despair. For some, it's an opportunity to make friends while whiling away time in this long wait. Different stories, but the same concern.
We are coming for our card, our Ghana card.
Does that mean that you've registered already, and when did you register?
I think the beginning of the year, probably March there. But when I came, they told me I have an issue with the card, white paper something. So they took the card, and then they told me they'll call me back for the card. So they called me. Then when I came for the card, you can see there is a queue here. And then sometimes they don't just go according to the queue. There are people that will come protocol. They have to enter. And then there is misunderstanding. And then sometimes they give the cards to us. When we take them, it becomes invalid. You can't use it again. So you have to return the card again for them to work on it. And then it takes some time before you get them again.
So it means that you've not been able to register your SIM?
No. And then they blocked my SIM too. And then you know that in Ghana, most of our works are on phone. You have to call a customer, talk to the person. Somebody has to send you money. And the network is not working. So I think we are pleading that they should do something about it. Because it's not like people are not willing to do the card. But just that the process takes too long for you to get your card. So if they are taking our SIMs from working, it's going to affect a lot of people.
So they gave me a day to come. I went, came back, still not done.
She said her number had been blocked. Is that the case for you as well?
Yes, me too. So I'm not able to make any call.
They want government to help them by ensuring that many registration centers are opened.
We're very much frustrated. You come here 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. They'll come and give you a whole lot of instructions. Do this, do that. If you don't do this, we can't do anything. I was here last month. They said I should go and gazette my name. For a whole 5 weeks, I went at this place, Accra. Today I went for it. I managed to reach here before 8 o'clock, and I'm still here. They said they are coming to take the elderly people to go and do it for them. Still, up till now, we are here.
Oh, gigantic problem. I came to join the queue where I was almost at the point of registering my card. And they told me that ordinary paper, they said because the person didn't write his name on it, I have to come and join this line again. And you can imagine all this. You can imagine all this, that somebody will leave your work, your daily production, and then come and sit in a queue like this. You see, wasting precious time. We are talking about digitization. Why can't they, develop proper means of which this registration can be easily done?
This is the situation here at Airworks Sports Stadium, where many continue to wait in anxiety, expecting that the process will get smoother. Some, for many months, they keep coming in here hoping to get their Ghana cards. For Joy News, my name is Joseph Akable.
We'll take a quick breather here on Joy News Prime. When we return, it's time for Showbiz. And it's time for Showbiz. Becky, with the good hair, is here with the very latest. We're talking BET tonight?
Yes, let's congratulate Black Sheriff because he has secured his first global nomination in the 2022 BET Hip Hop Awards. So he was nominated in the coveted Best International Flow category with stiff competition from UK's Nax, South Africa's Blackie, and Francie Benjamin Epps. So the others in the competition include Lejeus from France, Central C from the UK, Nadia Nakai from Zimbabwe, Tasha and Tracy from Brazil, and Havaya Mighty from Canada. So that is Black Sheriff. We're hoping that he wins, in this category.
Of course, he's a traveler. What do you expect?
Yeah, I hope so.
He's bringing it home.
So, if I know that you have the former president's number.
I do?
Yeah, because, John Mahama, I need to talk to him. He's been doing a lot of, good works for the entertainment industry. So recently he paid a visit to veteran actress Grace Norte in her home. So according to legal team member of the NDC, Eduji Tamaklo, they visited the place yesterday. Grace Norte has played several lead roles on Ghanaian television. She has been active in, the film, theater, and drama industry for over 5 decades and is considered as one of the ace actresses and pioneers of Ghanaian theater and drama. Meanwhile, Grace Norte is not the only veteran actor former President John Mahama has paid a visit to. In June, veteran Kumawood actor George Appiah Kubi disclosed that Mr. Mahama has been taking care of some veteran actors and the wives of some deceased actors for some time now. So he's doing a really great job, and this is what we need in the entertainment industry. Wherever you are, we're going to pay you a visit.
I think we should move beyond just a handout and hope that they will be paid their due as they've served the nation in those capacities.
What do you think should be done?
They should be paid well, and then there should be a fund, for instance, set up for them, such that when you retire, you can start benefiting from what you do elsewhere. That's what is done. We should be doing the same.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to that point where they get paid. But we have a Prime Movie Box. That's what we do every Tuesday. It's either a playlist or Prime Movie Box. So we're telling you, or we're recommending movies to you. Something that you should look forward to. So this is coming up. It's called Glass Onion. It's a movie. So the detective Bernard Blanc travels to Greece to peel back the layers of a mystery involving a new cast of colorful suspects. This thriller stars Daniel Craig. Very exciting. Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Howell, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Howick, and also Kate Hudson. You have been briefed, Emefa, but before we go, let's talk about the Emmys. You're
next in line.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
You too.
Amen. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of Joy News Prime. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com.